Let's go.
Let's go. Here we are, episode 13. We're going to call this one, I Have a Head. I'm just kidding. Editing gimmicks and whatnot. We're going a little more fancy this week. We've made the pivot, but we're going to call it episode 13. From the Shebeen to the Triskaidekaphobia Scrum. I'm one of your hosts, Chris.
Darren Benjamin.
And here we are.
As always.
Thanks for checking in. Episode overview. We're going to talk Patty Day spots in Las Vegas. St. Patrick's Day is coming up. We're going to talk about the last weekend at Allegiant Stadium with the National Rugby League. A busy week for Joe Rogan, having Elon Musk and Bill Murray. And then we're also going to talk about...
one of my favorite people is
Bill Murray?
I'm just going to say.
Yeah. We talked a little bit NFL last week and the economics of Taylor Swift. We're going to talk about the owners talking about the Philly Eagles and the tush push. And there's a question that posed on another website that I was reading about Vegas pub crawls and if there's value in them.
I believe that there is.
Do you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, come on. I mean, we're kind of doing a thing here.
We're kind of doing a thing. We're working on a thing, and I think our things can be better. Have you done a pub crawl in Las Vegas?
I did years ago when first year I lived here.
We're trying one of these for the first time. The Garage Beer from the Kelsey Brothers. I think it's out of Ohio. It's the light one.
Ohio.
I mean, they have the New Heights podcast on Wednesdays. Why can't we have Thursdays in Las Vegas?
That's right. Thirsty Thursdays. Garage beer.
And I'm not a big koozie guy, but at that anniversary party, they gave me a silver stamp koozie, so I'm going to use that.
Oh, as per last week's episode, if you haven't listened.
Yeah, episode 12.
Smells light.
Yeah.
Refreshing. Cheers, Chris. Cheers to day drinking.
Absolutely. So let's talk about pub crawls. Have you done one?
Yes. So I did one. First year I lived here, a friend of mine won one on courtesy of a radio station.
Okay.
Limo and all the Guinness we could drink. It was the St. Patrick's Day one.
Okay.
4 bars. We ended up, the last stop was, I think we went to Crown and Anchor. We went to Fado. I don't remember one of the other bars. And then we ended up at brand new at the time, Silverado and Maryland, I believe it was.
Okay.
PTs.
So was this an officially designated pub crawl?
Yes. Well, it was a contest brought by Diageo and or did Diageo own Guinness at the time? It's been a long time. Anyway, it was sponsored by Guinness for St. Patrick's Day through one of the local radio stations, and my friend won it, and I got lucky enough to go to it. I had video evidence of it for a time, but I think I've lost it over the years.
Gotcha.
This is pre-internet,
The question about the Vegas pub crawl that I researched was, I guess there's an app out there called Royal Pub Crawls, and there is there's a Fremont Street / downtown component, and there's a strip component, and you have to download the app, and it's not really administered. It's kind of smart in one way because it's not proctored by anyone, but it's all self-led. And then you go. There's a Pokemon component to it because to each of the bars that you go to on the tour, you get a card that's dealt to you when you scan in with the bartender. So you pay your fee. I think if I looked it up for downtown, it was like $70 for the crawl, and it allows a drink at each spot, and it's like $89 on the strip.
So basically, what you're saying is it's like a shopper's card, like a Albertsons shopper's card.
Yeah, there's some gamification to it.
Yeah.
I personally thought, I did a little research on it yesterday, 2 of the 3 spots downtown are all within Circa. There's a Golden Gate stop, and I think there's a D and maybe one more. So, I mean, rudimentarily, I thought it was a bit chintzy. That's nothing I have interest in. Yeah. But if you come across it...
I mean, they did offer discounts, so at a certain point, right? And once you do so much, you get a free drink or something like that.
Yeah, you go in the highest hand dealt of the day, however many people partake in the day get potential to win some awards. So
basically, what you're saying is it's a new way for them to track us in our buying. Yeah. Basically.
Or basically, what I'm saying is, and then most of the one on the strip took place in and around the link. So off the strip, a couple other spots in there. I mean, it's very, I guess, value-based, good for the person in China that came up with this, or whoever it was. But as far as being 2 industry professionals out here with 40-plus years of experience, I would not be interested in it, personally. But I can't take away because they're doing something more than we have at this
Yeah,
point.
I mean, why not? Anything can be something if you make it and you do it well. And the thing with apps is you can update them. So, I mean, does it have potential? Maybe.
Maybe. Do we have potential? Absolutely.
Yes. I've been telling myself that for years.
So talking about pub crawls, as we record this, we're on March 5th, 2025.
Yes.
What's coming up?
Little event called St. Patrick's Day.
Yes. Yeah. Running all the snakes out of Ireland, we are.
Yes.
You got a few spots that you've always talked about seeing, worked at, maybe?
For St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah.
Well, obviously McMullan's.
McMullan's, of course.
Number one.
Yeah.
It's funny, my buddy Dave, his birthday is on St. Patrick's Day, and he hates St. Patrick's Day because all anybody ever wants to do on his birthday is go to Irish pubs. So,
sure.
Yeah, he's anti St. Patrick's Day.
One of the things about McMullan's, we both worked there. We've talked about that in previous episodes. I think most of the people that are watching this so far know that. It is
one of the finest locally owned pubs in Las Vegas.
Independent Irish pub.
Independent, yes. Family owned.
Music all day. St. Patrick's Day is on a Monday this week, so that can make it interesting because it's the beginning of a work week, or maybe it's an extension of a long weekend.
I think they're on a downward trend for, like restaurants have trends, where they go down. And I think St. Patrick's Day is kind of on a downward trend right now. I think it's, once Notre Dame starts playing well again, they might, St. Patrick's Day will come back up, right?
Yeah.
So when I first started there, it was a madhouse. It was a mob. But I don't think as many people had St. Patrick's Day parties.
Well, I think it's
in Las Vegas.
Well, yeah, I mean, because back in the day, just like a lot of things, it's there was a handful of pubs that you would go to, and that was sought after. And just much like, in March, everyone's Irish. In September/October, everyone's German. And there's a lot more Oktoberfest parties than there used to be, too.
I remember we used to charge $20 at the door. Yeah. And it was packed.
Which was an interesting fact, too, because there's no longer a cover charge.
Yes, and it's not as busy.
It is free entry.
Which says something, to me, like, are people just swayed by that? Like, they're like, oh, if there's a charge, I got to come, I got to hang out. It's just interesting to think about,
Yeah. No charge for entry, limited menu, prices are reasonable, not egregious. That's one of the spots. How about our other fan favorite, RiRa?
RiRa. I love RiRa. I love the look. I don't love the fact that it's on the strip and you have to pay for parking now. You used to be able to slip into the side.
Yeah.
Go shopping, and then get free parking. But now you got to park at the casino and you got to pay. So a little less fun for me.
I was just telling someone that last night. You would do the Mandalay Bay shops valet, go right up that escalator, slip right in there.
Do they still do the locals discount?
I believe they do. Yeah.
I'm not sure about that, but as a local, that's a very rare thing in Las Vegas now to have a locals discount. Most places don't give a crap on the strip.
And mostly management and the bar staff will tell you both these spots is, if you love St. Patrick's Day, either, come a day or two before or after, because on the day of, you're not going to enjoy your experience as much.
Yep.
But we're gluttons to punishment when we do that. There is also the Fremont Street Experience, which is a 3-day celebration.
Which is, I think, where most people end up, just because it's super, super...
Yeah.
3 stages right there on Fremont.
3 stages. They source out bands from all over the country that play Celtic music / Irish music.
Yep.
Fun afternoon. Obviously, the green beers. Everyone in the bon vivant. If you worked at a traditional Irish pub, the last thing you want to hear is green beer, but...
They don't do it.
The mind's eye says green beer, excuse me.
Europeans as a whole frown on colored beer, I think. Which is part of what... what's it called? You'll say it better than I can. The German purity law.
Oh, the Reinheitsgebot.
Yes. There's no nothing in beer. Like if you put green dye in a beer in Germany, they would look at you like you're an idiot.
For all this podcast, the only thing I was trained to say today was Reinheitsgebot.
I rely on you for all my German pronunciations.
Yes.
That's just the way it is.
Schickelgruber. Okay.
There you go. Speaking of Schickelgruber, how about some
nice segue?
Jaeger.
Cold brew. Talked about last week. Still enjoying some.
Gluttons for punishment.
How about the Celtic Feist at New York, New York? This one's on Saturday at the Brooklyn Bridge, and it ties into Nine Fight Irishmen. So they have the bagpipes.
Speaking of Nine Fight Irishmen, I happened to be at McMullan's last night doing a little research for myself.
Sure, please.
I ran into a couple of our friends, Corey and Martin.
Okay.
And this is a little segue. They had been drinking a Slovakia's finest whiskey called Nestville.
Okay.
I've never heard of it, but they obviously drank a lot of it because Corey came up and manhandled me, jiggled my man boobies a little bit.
Okay.
And they surrounded me and hugged me and turned me into a meat sandwich. It was quite funny. But Corey and Martin are both employed at Nine Fine, so if you ever happen to be there, look for either one of those guys.
Long-term employees, good guys.
Yeah, great guys.
So they have the Celtic Fights. That is on Saturday, though, because, again, trying to get the most numbers. So it's on the 15th, not the 17th.
Yeah, the weekend, I think, of St. Patrick's Day at most places is going to be way busier.
Yeah.
That's just how it works. So they'll have, because it's on a Monday, the actual event won't be as busy, but the weekend will be terribly busy.
And then the last one, because a couple of the articles I looked up, they're cross-referencing like Mexican bars and everything else. And I get every culture enjoys the experience, but it's like, Cinco de Mayo, you go to a Mexican cantina. St. Patrick's Day, you go to an Irish pub.
That's right.
Oktoberfest, you go to, a brow, But the last one I want to talk about, Ahern Luxury Hotel down there on Sahara started this a couple of years ago. They're sponsoring a party event called Shenanigans that starts at 6 p.m. Monday evening, where they will have beer pong, Irish appetizers, beer and whiskey specials, and lest we forget, cornhole.
Cornhole.
Because nothing says St. Patrick's Day like cornhole.
Cornhole. Yeah. Come on.
Who knows? I mean, everyone's not talking about that one. We're trying to differentiate and be different and press our stamp on this little idea that we're working on. But.
So I was going to tell you real quick. I just told you about this pre-show. But right before we started recording, I saw an article. Fender is teaming up with Jameson to create a specialty guitar for this St. Patrick's Day.
Okay.
And our buddies at McMullan's, the local band, they've been playing there for over 20 years. Darby O'Gill and the Little People. I said Andy deserves one of those for the punishment he's done to his body by drinking Jameson all those years.
Oh, yeah. Do you know approximate cost, or is it just a contest?
No. I just messaged our friend Raul, who happens to work for Diageo, that he does stuff for Jameson. So I was like, hey, maybe you can make this work.
Before we get away from all things Irish, let's talk about some of the drinks of the week as we go into continue to talk about Paddy's Day. We both worked at the pub. We both know that Mr. McMullan was doing this. It is the 200th anniversary of the Midleton Distillery in Cork, Ireland this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice.
And what they did, and you and I both know this also, to commemorate the run-up to the 200th is in 1975, they decommissioned the old distillery as they went into the new distillery. Mm-hmm. And the old distillery, even though it's still form and functions there, and that's where they give most of the tours a week, it's called the Silent Distillery because it's no longer utilized day in and day out in the production.
Yeah.
So as an homage to that, they have the Silent Distillery Collection that started in 2020. And it is the oldest Irish whiskey on record.
How old?
49 years old. Because they took the last of what was left in the casks from 1975 and just sat it in a corner. So
they literally drug it out from the corner.
Nice. And as a run-up from 2020 to now, this is the 200th anniversary of the distillery. And I believe the one that's now existed for 50 years, they're going to open a third installment of a distillery over in Ireland to increase their production by almost 100% going forward as Irish whiskey grows in prominence in the country.
Awesome.
You've seen the bottle. I've seen the bottle. The first iteration came out in 2020. There was only 48 bottles produced. Mm-hmm. And it went from approximately between, what's your guess amount?
$17,000.
More.
20,000.
Keep it up.
50,000.
A little more. No, 50. Too much.
Okay.
$35,000 to $38,000.
Jesus.
Yeah, for 48 bottles.
There is a real lust for drinking in this country.
Yeah. Well, this is worldwide.
Now, that being said, Irish whiskeys, most people probably don't know, like the the whiskeys we get here from Ireland typically aren't even available in Ireland.
Yeah.
Because our market is so much bigger and stronger. They just sell more stuff. I'm sure if you went to, I've never been, you've been to Ireland, right?
Yes.
So most dive bar, let's say it's a dive bar in Ireland or a local pub, that's probably more they would only typically serve 3 whiskeys, like Jameson, Paddy's, and perhaps Bushmills, right?
Yep.
I mean, that would be typical. I'm sure it's changed over the years, and they've probably added quite a few more, but back in the day, that's how it was.
Yeah.
At least I've been told.
So this is year 6 of the 6 expressions that they're doing. All the bottles are hand carved in Waterford, made of crystal, and then they're not just cases. They're displays, or it's highly bougie boutique from an Irishman that lives not too far from the distillery himself. So every piece of it has edifice, and the goal with this is it's the oldest expression of Irish whiskey you've ever seen. Simultaneously, it wants to move into the luxury market, competing with some of the scotches from the older brands or whatever, to where they haven't had that, because of Prohibition, really. They want to move forward and grow the brand of Midleton.
Midleton was my favorite Irish whiskey. The original 21, very rare.
Oh.
And then what happened? 2008 or the pandemic? Was it the pandemic happened and just the demand for whiskey? So they ended up changing it.
Right.
And you just can't get that one. I'm sure if you try to find a bottle of that old first edition of very rare, it'd be very expensive.
How many brands are brewed out of the Midleton Distillery in Cork?
Well, I don't know.
7.
That's it?
Well, I mean, you've got Jameson.
Okay.
Midleton.
Okay.
The Pogue.
Okay.
Spot.
Yep.
What else?
So those are the main brands.
Yeah. Method Madness.
Which is amazing.
And Powers. So
I don't care for Powers too much, but
yeah.
Method is amazing.
Yes.
Midleton's amazing.
But they are cranking it out, and I mean, obviously this is primarily these whiskeys that for the last 5 or 6 years are just collect and hold, because the price point on them is consume them. If you get the whole set, it's going to probably be at the low end, 250 to 300,000.
Wow.
And then if you're just a collector that's going to come in and swoop it up.
How many did Brian buy? Do you know?
They're waiting for the last one.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Now the crazy thing is, retail suggested price on the last bottle is about €50,000, but with all the economics of liquor in the world right now, it might be dwindled down a bit.
Yeah.
So, which I guess is another segue into not getting too political, but everything kooky and crazy. Did you see yesterday that what is it called? Like the Ontario.
Windsor, Ontario,
the liquor purchasing component of Canadian just disavowed basically $1 billion order of American liquor.
Oh, they turned it away?
Wow. Everything they have, they're going to put in a warehouse, but as we go into the tariff season...
I don't, we're not a political show, but it's just stupid to sanction Canada. I mean, that's just ridiculous, but...
it's funny. It's the Liquor Council Bureau of Ontario.
Kind of, think about it. About what is it? When was the prohibition? From 19...
Was it 29 to 33?
29 to 33. One of the major areas they smuggled whiskey was through Windsor, Ontario, across the lake right there. And it's kind of funny. It's almost 100 years later. And along the same lines, we're like, oh, we're not going to get any more. There's going to be smuggling going on, I'm sure. But, it's stupid. It's like we literally, I've said this to you before, we live on a little teeny rock flying through space, and We've got all these stupid issues with borders and stuff like that. It's ridiculous. I'm here to have beer and have a good time and nothing else.
Ontario imports $965 million a year annually, and that accounts for 3,600 different American liquor products from 36 states.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
But if you want to put a positive spin on it, that probably means more Pappy for us.
Not like you and I are buying Pappy.
No, I mean, that value proposition is long since gone. But it's just like, let's be he.
How many bottles does our friend have? Did
10?
He buy? How many did he buy originally?
10. I want to say.
And he says he still has how many? 7?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
We're not mentioning any names here, but if he's listening, you know who you are.
That's right.
This guy, brilliant move, by the way. He bought 10. And how much are they worth now?
Thousands.
So he bought them for list price, which was
couple hundred
$100, and now they're worth thousands.
Yeah. Last weekend, as we continue expat talk.
Is whiskey speculation a thing? Is there actually whiskey speculation?
I believe there is, yeah.
I know wine, obviously, but I'm sure whiskey is a thing too, but I don't know how prevalent it is.
Yeah. Last weekend, National Rugby League was in town at Allegiant on Saturday with events starting at 10 a.m. I'm sorry, about 1 p.m. I opened the doors at like about 10 a.m. and went through about 10 p.m. that evening. Second year, huge success. The big match at the end of the day was Wigan versus Warrington. And forgive me because I forgot who even won that because I was kind of tied up with my own events. But Allegiant, that holds approximately just under 70,000 people, had a turnout of about 40,000, but far surpassed normal NFL game day Sunday liquor sales. So
yes,
the boys and girls showed up to drink.
You know what? I have lots of experience with rugby, working at McMullan's, the graveyard shift for so many years. Controversial, but not to me, because I know everybody thinks Irish drink more, but I know for a fact New South Wales, Australia crushes the world when it comes to drinking. That's a fact. That is 100% a fact, and I can say that with certainty. Now, I ran into a bunch of those guys at the airport leaving the other day, and one of the guys was from New South Wales, and he had a grand old time, and he told me he had a lot to drink. That's for sure.
Last year was the first year. This was the second year. I think there's 3 years left on the current contract. And for everything that looks positive and forward, I think they're going to pivot and just keep doubling down on this thing and grow it. So it's just another... I'm
surprised that rugby hasn't taken off even more in the United States, seeing as how, it's one of the most popular sports in the world. And, we're just now catching up with football or soccer in America.
Yeah.
And rugby, eventually, right?
Right. And what's one of the most popular moves in rugby?
Tell me.
The scrum.
Yes. Okay. The scrum.
I don't know if moves is a thing. Moves like Jagger, but the scrum.
Speaking of scrum, we were talking about is that the next move?
That's the next move.
Go with it then.
Yeah. We talked again last week about the economics of the NFL and what Taylor Swift has brought to it in the last couple of years. Last week was the owners' talks also, and there was potentially banning the tush push and for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge football fan, but I heard about it, and I guess that was a very deciding factor in the Super Bowl win.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it was something they've utilized all season. I forget the percentage success rate that they have on it, but it far favors them. I think of it as it's not cheating. It's just, you have a quarterback that can squat 600 pounds and has pure thrust. And if that's a move that they benefit for a couple of years, it's like when, the Chiefs had Tyreek Hill.
The game evolves, and that's part of how the game evolves.
And they should be rewarded for it. This isn't.
And they did. They are rewarded for it. They won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but does the NFL?
They shouldn't ban anything because as we all know, when you ban things, people want it even more. So, that's stupid.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah. The metrics of the NFL, they say, if you're going to do, every small yard aggregator, if it's going to, that's just the move it's going to be, because then people get bored and they turn it off. So the NFL wants people to stay.
Look at soccer, for instance. Yeah. They found out 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, the team that lays down the most wins games. And nobody likes it. Everybody hates it. But the Germans figured it out. And they laid more people on the ground, they best twisted their ankle or they got hit by the ball and they fell down. And they found that those teams win more games. So love it or hate it, it's there to stay until they, change the game.
And what's the word for a German brazier?
Tell me.
Far from flopping.
Far from flopping.
Yeah. If you can't have a Reinheitsgebot, you might as well have a far from flopping.
I will always remember Lucy Lawless and Euro Trip.
Okay.
Remember that scene?
Yep.
Where they were in the room and she was a sex worker, and the safe word was Farfignugan, wasn't it? Or something
It
like
was.
that?
It was.
What did she break out? I don't even remember. She broke out like a jackhammer or something like that.
Oh, I forget.
And then he freaked out.
Wasn't Eurotrip in Zeitgeist at the moment? Wasn't it Michelle Trachtenberg that just passed away?
Yes.
Did they say from what, or just?
I don't know for sure. I read somewhere it was like a kidney failure or something like that. She had some health issues that she was living with.
Gotcha. Well, you know.
That's a funny movie, and if you've never seen it, you're doing yourself a disservice. I'd put it up there with, the vacation movies. I think it's seriously funny.
I didn't know Michael was a girl.
and Scotty doesn't know. Yeah. Oh my God.
Right.
Yeah.
With a cameo from Matt Damon.
That spoiler when you see the movie is just phenomenal because you're like, Matt Damon, was like this prestigious actor, and then he pops up out of nowhere with like a bunch of tattoos and piercings.
It was
singing in a punk rock band.
It was in early 2000s, Jim. I forget, was it 2003 or 4?
Yeah.
I was reading that another local novelty, The Sphere, is numbers are getting better. But James Dolan came out to his board this week and said that as Sphere evolves and grows in other cities in the country in the future, that the 17 or 18,000 seat capacity model that we have here in Las Vegas will not be what it shall be in the future, that for it to be profitable and go forward, it's going to be about a 5,000 seat venue. So Vegas being Vegas, we will have the largest Sphere in the world.
Well, we are the largest Sphere in the world.
That's right. That's right.
You know what? We were talking about just pre-show. There's a bar in Dallas, and I believe there's one in LA. It's called Cosmos or Cosm. And they kind of have a miniature Sphere, not exterior-wise, but inside the bar. And you can watch sporting events. They have movies. Full bar and restaurant, and I believe that's kind of the move right there.
Yeah. Because
of the cost, I don't know. I'm smarter people than me, figure these kind of things out. But the Sphere is very cool, and if you haven't been, you need to go and check it out.
Yeah, more upcoming events at the Sphere. It's I tell people at the airport every day that it's cliche, it's a game changer, and I hate that phrase. But it is.
You know what? I kind of agree with them because in a sense, like when you're in the Sphere and 17,000 seats, if you're looking at the band, you can't even see them. They're dots. So if you decreased it to about 5,000 seats, then you would have a much, better experience, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah. I believe if you want to see a live band anyway.
Well, those guys look at the metrics, say no. So it's easy to figure out.
And as a cost, thing, like they have the movie in there, and I think it would be at 5,000 seats. It'd be, it's the future of cinema, if you will. You get somebody to make a movie in there, and I've heard rumors that the next Star Wars movie is going to be in the Sphere. Okay. Rumors only, don't know, but
directed by Quentin Tarantino.
No, Jon Favreau.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Quick shout out. We've said it in the past. We currently both work at the airport. Darren's over in A gates. I'm at C gates at Lucky Streak. So I'm a little more at a position where I'm always standing there. He's standing there, but he can be moved around sometimes. But mostly he's there.
They use and abuse me.
They do. You can't see the bruises, folks, but I can.
Right there.
I want to give a couple shout outs to gentlemen yesterday that were visiting from Portland and Nashville, respectively. The Portland gentleman worked in a vineyard and sells wine globally, and then the Nashville gentleman works on elderly retirement facilities across the country. They both joined Sip, Socialize, Shine. They're part of the group now, so I appreciate you guys. Shout out. I said I would. Here we are.
Woo.
I back my word. And as always, as we talk about Sip, Socialize, Shine, one of the things we did this week, even though we're still developing the website, is we do have officially an email address that you can send us questions to. It is...
You tell me. I don't remember.
That's my man. Info at DD...
You should never feed... I'm like a gremlin. You should never feed me alcohol before the show.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Darren's name now becomes Zach.
Yeah.
Or Gizmo.
Yeah.
Info at ddclub.vegas. Not .com, not .net, not .io. Info at ddclub.vegas. So you can be reached there. Send us your questions. Send us your ideas. Send us your complaints, because I'm sure those will happen too.
Yeah.
But we're evolving.
We want to grow. We want to hear from you. We want to hear what you want to hear from us. what you like about the show, what you don't like about the show. Feel free to say anything you like.
Obviously, people like to day drink. People have questions about Vegas. There's 44 million people that came to Las Vegas last year. If we get 1% of that, we're more than happy.
Don't say anything really angry. I got that short guy angry energy. Chris has got the tall guy, whatever kind of thing going on.
Just smoke a cigarillo.
Shrek, donkey. That's right.
A few more things. Did you watch the Oscars Sunday?
I have not watched any of it, which is weird. I've just been busy and I haven't had time.
Okay.
I've seen it just a small couple of clips.
And what was the name of the film that won Best?
Anora, excuse me.
Which is about a sex worker?
Fun fact, I did not know this. I was listening to Bill Maher this week, and he said that, I think he said 21 people have won or been nominated for Academy Awards that have played sex workers.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Wow.
So Hollywood has a really, really hard on for sex workers, no pun intended.
And we watched an episode on Netflix of something else last night, and then we're going to talk about Cheers in a minute. But I attempted to watch at least the beginning of the movie, and I told my wife, you ever seen Leaving Las Vegas? Because I really enjoyed that one.
Yes. Elizabeth Shue.
Right, Nicolas Cage, and as he famously did, ha ha. I have not seen it. I am probably like most people in this country that I did a quick review Monday morning of who won. Congrats to Kieran Culkin. Congrats to Zoe Saldana, who were the best supporting actress and actor, who I recognize their names more so than the main. I guess you had Adrian Brody. I know him too. But the main acting girl, Mikey Michelson, or what was her name? Yeah, she actually, something like that. Okay, from said film.
She, you know what? Did you know she was her first? I think one of her first appearances in Hollywood was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Was it really?
Yeah, and there was a list of all the up and coming stars that were in that movie, and it's like 12 people. It's crazy, and these are up and comers.
Okay.
Not already established, like Leo and Margot Robbie and Brad Pitt, of course.
Do you remember what her role was?
She played the girl that got lit on fire in the pool at the end of the movie. Oh. That was her. Yeah. Remember the one screaming around, running around?
Maybe that was a prelude to her career. Yeah. She's just on fire. Oh.
That was a good one.
In Fuego.
Yeah, I set you up, you bring it down. That's how it works.
Build me up, Buttercup.
Yep, that's right.
So films to be watched. We also talked, we referenced quickly Joe Rogan last week had a big week on his podcast. Had two titans of different industries, Elon Musk in one episode, and then Bill Murray in another, coming off the 50th anniversary of the SNL weekend a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. Did you get a chance to check that out? No?
Nope.
Neither one?
Nope.
I know the answer on one.
I'm going to tell you right now, and I listened to Joe Rogan a couple times, or Joe Rogan, not Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
I no offense to anybody. If you love him, great. But I listen to it. It's so bro-y that I just can't. I'm like, what?
Well, you know how much I utilize the word bro in my dialogue every day.
Yeah. But anyway.
But more so, it was fun. I watched the Bill Murray episode, and it's 2.5 hours, and it took me a couple days to kind of chop it up.
That's the other thing, is I don't know the logistics of why, and who has the time to spend 2.5 hours. I listen to a number of podcasts, but just 2.5 hours is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I chopped it up over 2 or 3 days, so it took me a minute to finish it. But I'm a big Bill Murray guy, and you legendarily, you've heard these stories through the years of what he's just done. He's just kind of guy that he just gets it and he doesn't get it. And when he wants to hop into the ether, he does. And when he doesn't want to be there, he's the most non-existent person on the face of the earth.
Yep. He probably just gets lonely, and then he hits it, and then he's like, I don't like this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite Bill Murray film?
I mean, you have to say Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
I mean, just Bill Murray? I don't know. There's so many of them. Scrooged, yeah. Scrooge is great.
Lost in Translation.
Speaking of Scrooge, the guy that was the cab driver just passed away. He was the head of the Dolls in New York.
Okay.
New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just passed away this week too.
He was a spirit, right?
He was one of the. He was the ghost of Christmas Present.
Yeah,
I believe.
I mean, Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
Gosh,
that's a classic. Yeah.
The Razor's Edge, lesser known when he was trying to be a little more serious actor, I think.
I don't think I've ever seen it. Which one is that one?
Early on, where he was a man like existentialism, like seeking like his real purpose. I think that was when Bill Murray was like kind of in that like post. He had that first run in the early '80s, and he was trying to figure out his next move.
Tell the story real quick. You gave me a book, Anthony Bourdain's producer, and in the book he recounts a tale of him and Bourdain meeting up with Bill Murray for the show. Tell the story real quick.
They're up in the Hudson River Valley, right? And God, it's been a minute since I've read it, and I'm trying to think of the producer's name too. But it's a fantastic Bourdain book, and in all his memorandum ones, I think it's the best one that's out there, even from his assistant. And they're up north of New York City by 30, 45 minutes, and Bourdain, they're shooting with Bill Murray, and what it ends up saying, like,
they have to be somewhere in the middle of downtown.
Yeah.
In like 30 minutes.
And Bill Murray says, "Let me drive."
Yeah. He gets behind the wheel and literally scares the crap out of Bourdain and his assistant by how crazy he's driving. They get there on time, though.
They get there on time, yeah.
And it was a thrill of a lifetime for Bourdain.
Because, I mean, again, you have someone that if Bill Murray's in his middle 70s now, and if Anthony Bourdain was still alive, he'd be like 65, 66.
Yeah.
So, again, another hero, much like he was to Rogan. If yours was Ghostbusters, and I have no problem with that, Peter Venkman, woo!
I mean, just as a sheer, it's a classic, and it's always going to be a classic, and it'll be around for another 100 years,
How about Stripes?
Obviously, that's fantastic. Yeah, John Candy, Harold Ramis, Ivan Reitman directed, right? Or no?
Yeah,
Ivan Reitman. That brought those. That was. I mean, no complaints there.
I mean that.
The mud. I remember as a child watching the mud wrestling scene, and I was like in love.
Yeah. I mean, Caddyshack. Jesus. I mean, we could go on with it.
You know what, Chris? I'm going to admit something to you. I've never watched Caddyshack all the way from beginning to end. I know.
This is where the show ends, folks.
I've seen the whole movie, but I've never sat down and watched the whole thing from beginning to end.
Really?
Yeah, just that's how much I've seen of it,
Okay. Well, we know what we're getting you for St. Patrick's Day.
I'll watch it.
So from the big screen to the small screen, did you watch episode 7 of Cheers, season 1?
I did.
Friends, Romans, and Accountants.
I did. I watched it while I was getting ready this morning. I kind of was paying attention, kind of wasn't.
Okay.
But Norm throws a toga party, and in doing so, he's trying to impress his boss, and he tries to hook him up with Diane.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't go well.
Yeah, firm of 200 accountants, and they get there, and they're all a bunch of heels at first, and Norm shows up late to his own party in toga gear, and they're all just standing around, much as you expect accountants to do. And then his boss, as you said, shows up, and they kind of plant Diane as a girl of interest to keep him entertained.
Yes.
Because he normally doesn't show up to these things, and Norm's just trying to impress the boss, as we all try and do, right?
Yes, sir.
So, and the boss takes fancy to her.
Yes.
They go in the back room and play pool, where he makes his, dare we say, advances.
His move, yes.
Yeah, and then Norm is a man of purpose and steps in and puts him in a neck hold to remove him. Ultimately terminated.
Yep.
But then a victor of the people, because they hear what he does once he goes out back to the main bar.
And everybody hates the guy, but nobody says it to him. So,
Yeah.
Much like in today's world, everybody hates the guy, but nobody says anything.
Yeah, and I think that Coach is your guy right now, right? Coach has a couple great lines in this.
Coach is, he's my hero, and it's a damn shame. Woody's a phenomenal. I mean, Woody Harrelson's amazing, but Coach was like, the first year, the staff, it was lightning in a bottle, like we like to say. The cast was perfect.
Can I share something with you?
Sure.
This is the slowest beer I've drank all week. Not because it's not amazing, but just because we're focused.
Focused on small batch brewing.
As our day goes into evening, we've recorded another episode 13 from the Shebeen, the Triskaidekaphobia Scrum. Sip, socialize, shine. We keep it going.
Cheers.
To the break of dawn. So see you guys next time. Check us out on all the social. We've got some contests coming out. Again, we are on the emails, info@ddclub.vegas. It's not a cup size. It's a movement. So
there you go. Have a good night, folks.